Welcome to the Caregiver Relief Podcast. I'm Diane Carbo, your host, and today we're exploring one of the toughest and most important parts of caregiving, conflict. Whether it's with family healthcare teams or even within ourselves, conflict can either break us apart or bring us closer together. And I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Jen Fry. She's a sports geographer, TEDx speaker, tech founder, and a powerhouse behind Jen Fry Talks, a firm dedicated to transforming how organizations handle conflict and culture. Today, she's sharing her wisdom on how caregivers can turn moments of conflict into opportunities for deeper connection. This episode is sponsored by myvitalvault.net, your all-in-one life organizer for aging adults and caregivers. It's designed to help you securely store your essential legal, medical, and emergency information in one easy-to-access place. Because when a crisis hits, being prepared can make all the difference. Join our Caregiver Relief community, a warm, welcoming space where you can connect with other caregivers, ask questions, share stories, and find support from people who truly understand. Visit community.caregiverrelief.com to join now, because caregiving is one of the hardest and most meaningful things you'll ever do, and no one should have to do it alone. And if this episode speaks to you, please take a moment to like, share, or comment. Every click helps us reach more caregivers who need encouragement, resources, and hope. So let's dive in. Dr. Jen, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
I appreciate you having me here.
Before we dive into the conflict in caregiving, can you share a little bit more about your journey? How does a sports geographer end up helping people navigate conflict and culture?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, but it actually in some ways is reversed. So I've been a professional speaker for almost about 10 years.
Oh,
And in 2019 is when I got my PhD in sports geography. I'm a former college volleyball coach. So I coached for about 15 years. And getting that PhD was, I think, an academic, just a continuation of it from my coaching days. But for me, as a professional speaker, I like to talk about hard topics, and conflict is one of them. And sports is all about conflict. And I just feel that if we want to create a better humanity, we have to get better at conflict. A lot of people talk about positive mindset and all those things. But to me, if we can't do conflict well, none of the other stuff matters.
I agree 100%. And one of the things with people that are caregivers, I'm both a professional and a family caregiver. I have been in the past. We avoid conflict at great cost, and it affects us personally on so many levels. So, in your experience, what is the biggest misconception people have about conflict?
That whenever you set boundaries or ask for things, you're only going to have to do it once. And I think
Okay.
that's one thing that frustrates a lot of people. If they set a boundary saying, I'm only going to help mom after 6 o'clock, when before they used to help mom all day, they think that once they say it, everyone's going to be like, okay. But that's not necessarily the case. People are habitual line steppers, and you have to keep informing, you have to keep really pushing on that boundary. Because if you think just one time your family members are going to listen to you, you are putting yourself in, I hate to say this, friends, for some very unrealistic expectations. You can't think you tell people anything one time and that's it. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that when we're dealing with humans, we're talking about caregiving, you have to consistently reinforce a boundary. You have to consistently tell them stuff. And so what I tend to see is that people, they'll say something once and they get frustrated and they're like, oh, why do I have to keep telling them? And it's because you do. That's just the way. And there is nothing in the history of anything that you only tell people one thing and that's it for the rest of eternity. You have to keep telling them. And so I think is that getting rid of people's unrealistic expectation that boundaries and those type of things are a one and done thing. You have to keep reinforcing them. And that, I'll be honest, Diane, is probably the exhausting part that people don't realize and why they stop doing it. Is because if you have to keep telling your brother, I'm only coming after 6. I understand you're busy. I understand all of these, but I'm only coming after 6. What happens is that people are just like, fine, I'll do it. I'll come before 6, even though it screws up my whole schedule, even though it screws up my whole work schedule, even though I have to make all these other plans for the dogs and carpool and all that. I'll just do it because I don't want to have to keep reinforcing it. And so that's what I tell people is, honestly, the first boundary you set is probably, and it doesn't feel like it at the time because it's usually the most scary. The first boundary you set is probably going to be the easiest one because it might be unexpected. They're not preparing for it. That's going to be your easiest one. It's the consistent reinforcement at your weak moments when you're tired, frustrated, whatever it is. Those are actually when it gets a lot harder.
Yeah, I worked with head injury for many years, and one of the things I learned is a person has to hear something 6 or 7 times
Yes.
before it becomes part of their long-term memory. So that doesn't surprise me that we have to set. And as a people pleaser, I know this is really hard for me to have to tell people over and over again that setting boundaries, and caregivers typically are difficult at setting any kind of boundaries or
Yes.
even realizing that they have their own limitations. They're torn between multiple roles, the child, the spouse, and the advocate. How can you tell me how those overlapping identities can fuel conflict?
Yeah, because you want, as a caregiver, like, first off, caregiving is probably one of the hardest things ever. And it's one of the things that people don't talk about because it's majority women who do it. And I think, and I can get on my tangent about how much of this stuff is off of women's unpaid labor.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so, like, caregiving is one of I would argue in some aspects, caregiving might be harder than raising a kid. And I do not have a kid. I have a cat named Pickle. Luckily, he stays alive. He is very self-sufficient. But the reason I say that I feel like in some respects that caregiving is harder than raising a kid is because with raising a kid, you're preparing the kid to exit to their own life, to grow, mature, have their own home, right? The power dynamic shifts from one where you have a lot of control to one where you have almost limited no control unless they ask your input. Whereas when you talk about caregiving, it is the complete opposite. The power dynamic was one of control, of lessening it, and now the person that you're caregiving and sometimes will now still have that old frame of reference of power of you're the kid. When my mom was sick, she was a friggin' terror. I was like, oh my God, you are so mean. Like, you are the meanest human. And you, as a caregiver, are having to rectify between being the kid and having to look at your parent in a totally different way, right? Looking at your spouse in a totally different way. And that's really hard. And I think going back to your question about the overlapping identities is that eh, you're sitting there at all times trying those identities are like fighting each other.
Yeah.
You're fighting each other to be, because in some respects you still want to be the kid to your parent.
Yes.
You still want to be that kid. The memories you have are of being the kid. And all of those things are now completely reversed, where you're having to be the parent to the kid and you're having to fight them on those type of things. So I think it's that your identities now are completely flipped on its head. And in some respects, you probably have to go through a grieving period of
Yes.
what that relationship used to be, because
Absolutely.
it will never be that same again, ever. And that is such a difficult thing. So I think that's where you see the overlap, is that you're fighting what that previous identity was, and to recognize it will never be like that again and to grieve it.
Caregiving brings out such deep emotions, and what I
Yeah.
find is when you get into the new role of caregiver, old family dynamics take over. The unaddressed trauma phase in how you handle disagreements. And I'm the oldest of four, and I'm considered the bossy know-it-all sister. Okay. And then my next brother is 13 months younger than I am. And then the next one is 4 years younger. And then my baby sister is 7 years younger. In fact, we share the same birthday. But we all have had similar experiences, but we've reacted differently to them. And when we all get together, they always tell me, you think you know everything. In nursing, I know a lot because I've been doing it for 54 years, but I don't know everything. But we get into those roles, and we even if we haven't been in this situation for 20 or 30 years, all of a sudden you're home in a situation where you're that kid again. Very, very hard for caregivers to handle that. It's very hard. And so how can caregivers begin shifting their mindset from avoiding conflict to viewing it as an opportunity for growth?
The one thing I say is nothing breaks down a healed person like going back home.
Yes. Yes.
You can do decades of therapy. You can meditate every day, sage your home. You can have all the spiritual awakening until you go to Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah.
And now everything you have learned from therapists, Pat, is gone. Every coping mechanism, every single thing you have learned is in the garbage, shove it down the toilet. And so I think the hardest thing about it is that in some respects, you are probably dealing with family members who haven't healed their own trauma. So you are coming in with a different mindset of stuff, and they literally have never grown, matured, done therapy on those topics. And so you're sitting there as this healed person, literally trying to talk and navigate conflict with someone who is their purpose is to drag you back to the 10 or 11-year-old you, because that's where they're comfortable. And there's a phrase that it sits with me so much. It says, your family members know how to push your buttons because they're the ones who sewed them on.
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that before, but that's so true.
Right?
Yeah.
They know exactly the thing to say to trigger you. They know the exact thing to push on your red button, yellow button. They know exactly what to say and do in any moment. And so I would say when you're doing this, when it deals with conflict, you have to be going into the situation prepared for what your family members are going to do. You have to already be thinking a step ahead. That when you're going to ask your brother to do XYZ, these are the things he's probably going to say. And these are the things you're Diane again, being bossy. Oh, and all right. What they're going to say. So you have to be mentally prepared for those things. And I think a lot of people, unfortunately, go back into the family situation thinking, well, I did my therapy, I'm going to be fine. No, these people know exactly the button to push. They will drag you back down within 15 minutes if you get into that damn household. And so you have to be prepared for what does that look like and how are you going to combat it? Is it you walking away? Is it you saying, I know that when I ask him to take out the garbage, he's going to say ABC 1, 2, 3, and this is what I need to say. And you are starting to be prepared for it. Of course, you cannot know every situation, but if you know your family well enough, you know some of the situations that you're going to be thrown back into. And you have to figure out how you're going to deal with it, because no one will get you madder than a sibling or a parent. No one will get you madder than that. And so going in there knowing that, how are you going to be prepared for that? Also, you have to know your family members' limitations. You have to know it. And so how are you going to prepare yourself for those limitations without putting just because your family member is sick? I hate to say this, friends, does not mean your siblings, spouse, parent is going to rise to the occasion. It does not mean that. And so you have to be prepared for that versus having unrealistic expectations.
Well, many caregivers struggle with siblings or family members who don't
Yeah.
pitch equally, usually
Yep.
as one, and they demean that person, the caregiver, they
Yep.
demoralize them, they beat them down. So, what advice do you have for navigating those conversations constructively? This is a hard one for so many.
Yeah, it is. I think the first thing is, are you putting unrealistic expectations on them? Are you stressing yourself out with stuff you know they will not do?
Mhm.
Like
Yep.
that's I think the first part is that we have the idea of this person sick, that we're all going to come together and help mom. It is not realistic because the truth be told is that you can grow up in the same family with same parents and everyone have completely different experiences. And
Yes.
you'll hear so many people who say, Jen and I grew up together, and I don't understand why Jen thought this and did that. You will have completely different expectations. You will have different experiences. And that's one thing you have to think about. I think about my sister. There was six of us, and there was five, and then I was adopted. My mom had five by the time she was 25, and they adopted me at 41.
God bless
And
her.
I couldn't even fathom that.
Yep.
And one of the things that doing this work has given me is grace and empathy of how hard must it have been to have five kids by the time you're 25, you're divorcing their dad, you're working full time. Like, how hard must that have been? And I think that also goes into the strong woman trope back in the day because my mom worked full time, had dinner on the table, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and it wasn't healthy. It
Yeah.
wasn't healthy then. And so we have to acknowledge first that our siblings have very different experiences. And so the youngest of the five, we can all agree was the most hated kid. My mom did not like her. Don't know why. My mom didn't. I was the most favorite.
Mhm.
I and so you have these polar opposite experiences when then goes to
Yeah.
the caregiving part, right?
Yeah.
As the favorite kid, I'm going to feel like I am obligated to do more. The
Mhm.
kid that maybe had the hard relationship, the grappling always with the parents, they weren't close.
Yeah.
They're not going to feel that much of a connection to feel obligated to do stuff. So I think like we have to understand those dynamics right out the bat. We cannot sit and say, mom is sick, everyone's going to feel the same way about her and help. That would be beautiful, but that's not the case. And so I think it's first understand the family dynamics because you know how the family worked and operated. I think the second thing is that you know your siblings, you know your dad, your mom, to not have unrealistic expectations on what they're going to do. That because I think that's when we start to see the cycle of demeaning all that is because you're pushing and pushing these unrealistic expectations on them.
Yes.
And to say for the people that I know, what would be the bare minimum that they can do to help me? If they do more than that will be great.
Yeah.
But what's the bare minimum that they can do? Is it that they come and friggin' take the garbage out at the end of the like what would be the bare minimum that they can help me? And build up from there. Because if you come in with these expectations, which that you should have, right? That each kid will have a day and they'll come and they'll help feed and clean. And if you have that, you are putting yourself automatically on the loser's end because they're not going to do it. So not only are you fighting them to do it, they're now probably going to rebel and not do the basic things they would have done before.
I have a situation where I see often is the one caregiver is the one that everybody puts the expectation and role of caregiving on them,
Yeah.
and they don't know how to set limits and boundaries. And I really encourage them to create a care team partner approach to care. Caregivers
Mhm.
don't want to do that because they feel like they're a failure if they ask for help, which is really sad because necessity to ask for help.
Yes.
63% of family caregivers become seriously ill or
Hmm.
pass due to chronic stress before the person they're caring for passes. So it's really it's very serious. And that's why they need to reach out
Yeah.
and ask for help from others. But you're right. If they have unrealistic expectations, they want equality, it's not going to happen in any household. It just
No.
isn't. No.
No. So how can they build that team of realistic expectations? And
Yeah.
I think, but also let's be honest, Diane, that it's also about that strong woman trope of why I
Yes.
don't want to ask for help. I
Yes.
can do it all. I can handle it all. It doesn't matter if I'm waking up at 3 in the morning and doing, I can do it all. And so I think it's women being okay with letting go of that strong woman trope. If it's even the fact of saying, I need to have new light bulbs installed everywhere, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to have what, this John, the construction guy, he might not be worth shit, but he'll come in and change all the light
Yep.
bulbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, have him do that, right? He might not want to come into the house, but he'll mow the yard. And that's
Yes.
for the things that will take the small pieces of weight. Because if you can have 10 small pieces of weight taken off your plate, that's going to help out tremendously. If it's the change out the light bulbs, taking the garbage can to the front of the road, if it's the cutting of the grass, those are 3 main things right there that can help out. If it's coming and putting the groceries in, think about what are the things that you need help with that are, yes, you can do them, but it doesn't mean you can do them.
Yeah.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
100%. And that's a big message that caregivers need to absorb and put into action, because it's unrealistic, the things that are expected of them. Many leave the workforce and they're financially struggling. And I tell them, if you're a family caregiver and you're the only one that's providing care and you have uninvolved siblings and extended family members, they need to be expected to do something. If somebody's good at managing, maybe they can take over the medications, making sure they're ordered and they're supplied on time, and so that it makes that off your plate. Or somebody who's good at research, let them do the research of what resources are out there for the senior that they can use, or the caregiver as well. There's so many things. Another one, one underutilized resource is activities. Have somebody who's creative or fun as your cheerleader, and bring things that will be important to your senior to keep them busy and active. That gives you respite from having to being attentive to them all the time. And people don't understand that activities actually not decrease or eliminate challenging behaviors.
And then to say that, if your sibling doesn't want to be involved, have them be involved with their money. Have them pay for
That's my
shit.
next yes, I say then they need to be financially compensating for help inside the home.
Yeah, if they don't, then they need to be sending shit from Amazon. Like, they need to be sending puzzles and games and coloring, and they need to be sending stuff. They need to be paying for a class or they need to pay in that way. Look, here's the thing. I think
Cleaning lady. Pay for a cleaning lady.
Diane, let me tell you, I am 45. I live in Baltimore. I have a 3-story house. I get my house cleaned every 2 weeks. I travel 2 weeks of the month. I'm always traveling.
Yeah.
To come home to a clean house is the best feeling ever. Here's the thing. I see so many women who do not want to have that help.
Yes.
Who do not. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy clean. No, you don't. You don't enjoy it. You're telling me you finally get your mom to sleep and you've been stressing out and you want to go clean a toilet?
Yes.
You are lying to everyone.
100%.
Everyone you're lying to. Stop lying. No, you don't. You hate it, but you have another option. So yes, a cleaning person, hire them every 2 weeks they come. That is a major thing off the plate. And tell them, if you're not going to help me physically, you need to pay for this cleaning lady to come.
100%. Yes, that I say that all the time, because caregivers are pushed beyond what is humanly possible. And it takes a village to do children. It takes a village plus to take care of an older adult. And nobody should be able to carry that burden alone. It's just not realistic.
100%.
Yeah. Now, when conflict arises with healthcare providers, and it does sometimes, how can caregivers use communication strategies to advocate effectively without escalating tension? Because what I'm seeing, Dr. Jen, is I see caregivers take in what the doctor's saying, and they're listening and listening, and they don't ask questions. And then they get mad because what they heard and what the doctor meant were two different things. And I see some now in the healthcare system, nurses are getting the crap beat out of them at the bedside. It's nothing like we've ever experienced before. COVID just ruined people. They're behaviors are unacceptable sometimes, and the expectations of getting their needs met. Everybody's all about me, and they don't think about what is the other person may be going through as well.
One of the things is that COVID made it so that people didn't have to treat each other like humans during conflict, because you could just hide anonymously behind a screen and write whatever you want. And then it exacerbated it of making it acceptable to just treat people like crap and say like the worst things. And I'm just like, the reason why people treat nurses like that is because of the power dynamic they think they have.
Yeah.
To me, I'm like, this person's taking care of your family members. I would tread light as hell, because this is the person that's like, what are you doing? Screaming and cussing at this nurse. This is the person that's there at 3 a.m. changing that damn bedpan or cleaning up the throw up or whatever it is. And I think that people, when again, they're scared, they're worried, stuff like that, they're going to revert back.
Yes.
And it's not taking a deep breath. Let me write notes when the doctor explains. Let me ask in-depth questions. I feel like because doctor's appointments are so short that they feel like they don't have time.
Yes.
And the thing I want to tell you is like, the one thing is that, doctor, you ain't finna rush me. You are not rushing me. And so what happens is that they, in a way, allow themselves to be rushed, which is not being able to answer questions. They have so much going on in their brain. This is what they think they heard.
Yes.
And they're going off of that, versus you have to control time more. No, doctor, and you're coming with you already have questions prepared. And then as you're taking notes, you're developing questions then so that you can ask them. I will stop a doctor. No, we need to have this conversation. I need to ask this question. And not because what happens is that people don't want to feel like they're a burden, right? I don't want to feel like I'm a burden in having a doctor wait. But what's the other aspect is that you literally are yelling at a nurse about what you thought you heard, which is completely wrong. And so I think it's that aspect of being willing to write questions, ask the doctor. Yes, they're running late, but that's not your problem. It's not your problem that they're running late. It's not your problem that they only have 20 minutes. It's not.
It's
You
15
in
minutes, Medicare
15.
reimbursement for 15 minutes. Yeah.
So
And in that 15 minutes, they're supposed to be assessed. They're supposed to diagnose, treat, and document. And that's why I tell all my caregivers, take a recorder in, take your phone
yes,
in,
yes,
record that conversation, document
yes,
it, and listen to it over. Ask others to listen with you. Because
yes.
they may have a different perspective, but always try to be prepared what questions you want to ask, because the doctor's time is so limited, and it's so frustrating because in the olden days, doctors would spend an hour with you. Of course,
Yeah.
everybody had to wait, but you got seen, you felt heard. Now you feel dismissed and unheard. And it's really frustrating. And caregivers are frustrated, and they take it out on not the doctor, but the nurses. Yeah, it's
It's
very
the power
frustrating.
dynamic. It's
Yep,
the power dynamic.
yep.
I think also what you said, there are so many transcription apps like Otter and stuff like that, which you can record on there and then it will summarize the notes. And you just have in a folder of all of your doctor's appointments and
Yes.
all of the information. And now you know what medicine he said, like you have all that information. That's such a great idea
Yeah.
for people who have all these hospital visits. And instead of it saying, I'm not sure what was said, have one of these apps.
Yeah.
And I think like some other, maybe the free version gives you up to 30 minutes free. That's 30 minutes at a time. Then there's
Yeah.
your appointment. But yeah, to do stuff so that you have the recording. So like you said, somebody can go behind and be like, no, actually, this is what I think. And so you're able to get different opinions, but you have the information.
Yes. Because what you hear initially may not be what you hear the second or third time you listen to it. And that's the important thing, because communication is lacking. People don't have communication skills anymore. And what's sad about the family caregiver, most of them have no medical knowledge at all, feel intimidated.
Yeah.
And I have no problem saying to the doctor, excuse me, could that be in English, please? Plain English,
Yep.
down for me, please.
100%.
Yeah, and people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to they put the doctors on a pedestal.
Yep.
Here's what I tell my clients. I tell them, you are employing that doctor. You're actually paying him
Yep.
to see you. So treat him as an employee.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, take
100%.
advantage of that. Yes.
Yep. Ask the questions. 100%.
Yeah. Now, you emphasize the connection between conflict and leadership in your TED Talks. How can caregivers see themselves as leaders in their caregiving journey?
I think the biggest thing is that they are leading this journey to help their sibling, their parent, whoever it is. They are in control of this boat. And when they don't think they're in control, that's how they're going to act. Versus saying, I am managing this whole situation. So because of that, I have to think more as a leader. I have to talk as a leader, meaning I'm not sitting here and be like, hey, Diane, could you maybe, if possible, versus saying, Diane, I need you to come every Wednesday and have the garbage cans out.
100%. 100%.
Changing how, but many times, if we're talking about women, they haven't been taught to really do that and to use that strong voice because they're so afraid of it being called bossy or aggressive or anything like that. And to me, it's like you have to get over that because no one wants in a way to help someone that's wishy-washy. You telling me, Jen, I need you to take out the garbage. They come every day. They come every Wednesday by 9 a.m. I need you to have the garbage can out either Tuesday or Wednesday morning. I don't care. That's very different. Hey, if it wouldn't be too much, could you maybe come and take the garbage out? But if you can't, I totally understand if you can't. Girl, they're never about to see that garbage can at all. That thing gonna be sitting there.
Don't act like they're doing you a favor.
Yes.
Come across as it's an expectation you have and then get it done.
100%. That is the key. Because if not, they're not going to do it. If you're like, if you can't, I completely understand, then they're not going to be able to. They can't. Every single time they can't.
Yeah, it's hard to be. I took care of my mom when she became ill when I was between the ages of 16 and 18. And my dad worked 2 and 3 jobs. As the oldest of 4, I was taking care of my mom and my siblings.
Yeah.
And and I'll tell you a funny story. I was 26 years old, had 2 children, came home to Pittsburgh at Christmas time. And I'm like, I had been to adult children of alcoholics groups over the years and stuff. And I bought these books for everybody. I thought, oh, Bradshaw and the Family. It was so good about how to approach families that have dysfunctional addictions in the family. So here I am. I'm this young girl. Not one of my other family members even saw my dad as an alcoholic.
Oh, God. Oh, that's brutal, Diane.
My God. So when I'm sitting here and I'm laughing because my dad was a functional alcoholic. But he was mean, he was nasty, he was abusive. So I had a totally different experience than my family's. And that's why they say to me, you're bossy. I used to break my heart, Jen. Oh, I would say, oh, I was so hurt. I don't want to be bossy. I don't want you. Nobody don't like me. Now it's, yes, I embrace it. I am who I am. And there's a reason why I am the way I am. Yes.
100%.
Yeah, I put on my drill sergeant. I had 2 sons, so I put on my drill sergeant voice. You will get this done. I know as a family caregiver, and I was, and I have to tell you, I was very blessed, as dysfunctional as we were, when my dad was dying, because my mom died when I was 18. My dad was dying. I was in my 40s. I have to tell you, my whole family came together, which is very unusual.
Yeah.
They visited my dad. They took him out. We all had times where we were spending to help out with him. That was something that I was really proud of. But again, it was, hey, what days are you available? What can you do? And when can you be there? And I made a schedule because I took off a year of work to help provide care for my dad as he was dying. And the rest of my family actually did step up to the plate. And I know that's not the story that you would expect from this
Yep.
functional family who didn't even see their dad as an alcoholic. Oh, it just, oh. Can you share a story or an example, Dr. Jen, of when a conflict actually strengthened relationships rather than weakened them?
I feel like I live and die by quotes, and there's one that says that conflict shows us the depth of our relationship.
Wow.
And I think conflict strengthens if you allow it, if you allow conflict to happen. I think about my sister when my mom was sick and it was during COVID. And one of the things that we would talk, but not how we would talk in depth.
Yeah.
And my mom was sick, and it's during COVID. I'm doing like 5 and 6 speaking engagements a week, if not more. Like I am sometimes 2 and 3 a day. I'm exhausted. And she's in Bali at this time. So my sister owns a hotel in Bali. And it would have been easy for her to be removed. Right. She's across the country. My mom's in Arizona. And instead, like I said, she was like, "What's the thing I can help you with? What's the thing?" And I said, it was funny because my mom didn't like her, but I think to tell her the truth, knowing that she couldn't do anything
Yeah.
because of how far away she was. But with me, who was close by, she'd be like, "Everything's fine. Everything's fine."
Yeah.
But my sister got the truth of it. And so my sister said, "What can I do?" And I said, "Mom's mentioned assisted living to you. Can you do research on that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Absolutely." So she built out a spreadsheet. She contacted everyone. She did all the virtual walkthroughs. She did everything. And that I think was something where someone that we talked, but not as close, we were brought us way closer
Yes.
because it was a understanding of where I was. It was an understanding of that she had limited power, but there was some things that she could do. And it was the understanding also that I was driving this train.
Yes.
And so it wasn't her trying to take over, it was the aspect of how can I support Jen? And I say that because sometimes you'll have family members that you really haven't talked to who really step up to the plate.
Yes.
I think about my best friend. She and I had a falling out in about 2019. We didn't talk. And my mom passed and she sent a beautiful card. In the card, she said, "If I knew the address, I would have sent flowers." And to me, that really helped rebuild our relationship because I was like, that's someone I need to have in my life who, even if we're not talking, understands the gravity of what occurred.
Yes.
And that was one where we really rebuilt. And I think who knows if the conflict hadn't happened, the strength of our relationship. But I think so many times, like I am a person, I'm 45, I think a lot about reconciliation and rebuilding relationships. I think a lot about that now. And to me, sometimes you just have to give some relationships time to be able to circle back
Yes.
for whatever reason it is. And sometimes we want to heal the situation a little too quick,
Yeah.
but the healing that needs to occur is the time away from each other.
Yeah. I agree. My siblings and I were estranged for many years, and it was hard to get back to that level. And because of nobody else in the family has any conflict resolution, they don't know how to
Yeah.
meet conflict, and they go back to the old roles, but they have their own issues, and it was very sad for me. But we did have success with my dad, which we all worked together as a team, which I was very proud of because there was no family the family dynamics came in play to some point, but we were all respectful of the boundaries and limitations that we had. And that's just because I'd done care management and stuff for so long. I was the bossy big sister, but I was a kinder bossy big sister,
Yeah.
asking and trying to work within everybody's parameters. And it worked out really well. Finally, Dr. Jen, what's one small step a caregiver listening today can take to transform conflict into connection in their own life?
To not have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You know,
think to me, that's the biggest thing because
yeah.
unrealistic expectations of these people, you've known them for decades, you know what they do and will not do. I'd rather you be pleasantly surprised at how they help you
Yes.
than distraught at the unrealistic expectations you have on them. Your brother isn't going to be coming to the house every day to cook.
Yeah.
But will he come and just take out the garbage cans? That's all that you can ask. Right. And so I think it would be, just because you're doing it doesn't mean that they're going to do it. And so to try and stifle some of those unrealistic expectations so you can still get your needs met. And it's not this combative relationship where they end up not doing anything.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And I have to tell my caregivers out there, even if they do help and they don't do it the way you would do it, as long as it's
Yes.
the same result, don't be
Yep.
bitchy and bossy about it.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be done your way. It's the end result that you care about. And because that's a big thing that's a turnoff for many supporters of family caregivers, because they feel like they can do it only one way and nobody else can do it as good as them. That's a bad attitude to have, because when you want help and you need it, be accepting and be gracious and thankful and be patient. And if they don't do it exactly the same way you do, accept that and hope to get the same result. That's all you care about. And if it means that you're away for some respite care for a few hours while somebody's there with your dad or your mom, and mom and dad are happy, that's good. That's the end result. And you are too, because that gives you the energy to continue to move forward.
Oh, yeah. Can I add to that?
Yes.
1000%. Don't push people away, because they have to make sure that when they put the groceries in the fridge, that every label is turned to the front, or
Yes.
that they go through and they put the milk, has to be like, you didn't put the milk on the second shelf. Man, stop that crap. Like, you're gonna
Yes.
then they're gonna be like, I'm just not gonna go and deliver the groceries anymore.
Yes.
And then you are putting all these undue burdens on people because you need it to be a certain way. It's like the old adage of, like, when dad takes the kids, but the kids aren't dressed in the correct clothing, they have
Yep.
clothes on. They're
Yeah.
happy. It's all that matters. So even if for that little bit of respite, it means that maybe your mom might be eating French fries, and the doctor said that they shouldn't have it, and mom's happy eating some damn French fries, and you get some hours, let them have those damn French fries. Like,
Exactly. Yes.
you have to be, I think that's the important thing, is that you have to understand that your fight for perfection and doing a certain way will push people away from helping you.
Oh, I had a caregiver. I went to her home to help her out, and I loaded up her dishwasher, and I didn't do it right. She unloaded it.
Yep.
30 dishes, and she loaded it the way. I was like, oh, dear Lord. And I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with her,
Yes.
because I'm like, girl, you can't do this. Let go of that crap. As long as the dishes get clean in that dishwasher, what does it matter how you load them? But she couldn't let go. And I know it's all about control, but you can't control people if you want help. You need to be accept. Dr. Jen, I'm so excited that you spent some time with us. You reminded us that conflict doesn't have to be destructive when handled with honesty and care. And it can be the very thing that deepens our relationships and strengthens our resilience. Your family situation is a perfect example of that. So I want to thank you today for spending time with me and sharing your experiences. And to my family caregivers out there, you are the most important part of the caregiving equation. Without you, it all falls apart. So please learn to practice self-care every day. Be gentle with yourself, because you are worth it.